Hey guys, well, I'm working on another CNC table project out here in the shop right now. I've done a few videos in the past on projects that I've cut out with my Langmuir Systems Crossfire Pro CNC table, but I've got a little bit more complex one that's going on right now. And my son decided to start a business last year doing CNC metal art, and he's gotten really good at drawing stuff up in CAD and running the CNC table, but he wanted to do these personalized signs that people could put up, at their house with their last name on them. And so I suggested that he build one for us, for our family first, just so he could get used to indexing and doing some larger scale cuts. So he dug up a couple of open source photos online, ran them through edge detection on Inkscape to turn them into vector format, and then doctored them up a bit inside of Fusion 360, and this is what he came up with. Now, it looks pretty good. There's an area that's doesn't have any cuts in it that's in between our last name and the artwork, and that's where we're going to index it at. That way, the only thing we have to match up is the perimeter cut. We don't have to match up any cuts in artwork cuts. It's a little bit more tolerant of if we don't get things quite lined up on either the X or the Y axis. It won't matter quite as much. If there is a little step in the perimeter cut, we can just grind it down. So let's send that thing out to the CNC table and fire it up and see how it comes out. Well, just a few minutes of cleanup here. This is the way it looks. That came out really good. I'm actually pretty happy with it. So we're doing this one in two pieces. We're going to paint the back of this. Then I'm going to TIG weld some spacers in between here, and that way we'll be able to shoot some screws sideways into a perimeter frame, and that'll stiffen it up a bit as well. And then we're going to actually wrap LED light tape around the perimeter of this, and that way it'll be lit after dark. Well, this is the post frame that my son came up with here. We've obviously already got it mounted in the ground, but it's just made with some peeler core fence posts we got from our local Tractor Supply. And pretty easy to set this up. We just coped the posts and basically used some long lag bolts to screw everything together. But this is where the sign will go. It'll actually fit inside of this frame right here. Okay, well, now that my son's got the sign cut out and the back plate and all that stuff's ready to bolt into the frame, task is mine to come up with a way to power this whole thing. So I spent half an hour the other day just looking on Amazon, and this is what I came up with. Now let me kind of go through what we're going to do here. These lanterns right here are LED lanterns. They have a LED in there with sort of a flame effect. They're designed to work on 3 AA batteries, so 4.5 volts. Got a little on-off switch right here. And by the way, I'll post a link to all this stuff in the video description. So if you guys want to buy the same stuff, you can. The links will be in the video description. So kind of the heart of this whole system is this Dusk to Dawn security light. And what this is it's a small solar panel. I don't really know how many watts it is. This being the size is probably 3 or 4. It's got this power supply on the back. And what happens here is the solar panel charges a battery in here during the day. And when the output of the solar panel drops below the reference voltage that I assume is the battery, then it turns on the output from this cable right here. And so basically the solar panel charges the battery and is also set up kind of as a photo cell. And that way you get power out here from when it's dark out, and then it switches back off when, at sunrise and charges the battery again throughout the day. And it comes with this light right here. I'll show you basically how this is supposed to work. I got enough light in my shop here that this demonstration should work just fine. And basically with this thing hooked up here, make sure my switch is on. There you go. So when there's enough light for the solar panel to be charging the battery, then the light is off. When I turn this over, you can see the light comes on. Well, I'm not going to use this LED light right here. This has got it's got 64 LED chips on there. Yeah, I'm not going to use this. Basically, this just came with this solar panel thing here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in this cable right here and send it to a custom 3D printed power box that I've made. I'll go ahead and show you guys that right here. And what this is going to hold is 2 buck boost converters, and these will step up the 3.7 volts that the power supply from the solar panel sends out. One of them I'll set to about 5 volts to run the lanterns, and the other one to 12 volts to run the LED light tape right here. And so this lid just fits on the box. Got a couple holes for power in and power out, and I've made the dimensions of this roughly the same as that piece right there on the back of the light. So I'll be able to screw that to the box right here. And the solar panel will just mount to the back of the wooden frame that we have. I'll kind of face it to the south, and it should be fully automatic. When the sun sets, this thing should turn on the 2 lanterns and the LED light tape, and it should happen automatically. Really only need a few hours of light in the evening. It's not really a security type thing. We just want it to look cool when the sun sets in the evening. So I'm going to get to work here and get this system built. Now, just because I'm curious, I'd like to see what's inside of here. I've become convinced that the entire world is powered by 18650s, so I kind of suspect to see a couple of 18650s in here. No, something bigger. Not an 18650. See if I can get that thing out of there and take a look at the circuitry in here. There we go. 32650, so 5.5 amp hour, 3.2 volts. So that's what we've got in there. And then, I'm not sure if you can see it, it's just a basic, probably a voltage regulator in there to act as a battery charger for this, and then a simple comparator circuit to compare the output of the solar panel against this. So, yeah, pretty simple. 5.5 amp hours, that's not half bad. Well, this battery was a little on the discharge side, so I hooked up my constant voltage power supply here, and we're gonna top this thing off because I need it charged for testing. So while this thing is being charged, we're gonna tackle these LED lamps right here. Now basically all I need to do is take the bottom off and wire in a one of these right here, female connector, and I'm probably just gonna drill a hole right in the side right here, stub this in here, fix it into place with some hot glue, and then the plan will be that I can zip tie this connector kind of up the side of the lamp and run the power cord up with the metal hanger. So let's grab a screwdriver and take this thing apart. I don't really know what I'm going to find in here, but this thing feels pretty light. I doubt there's a whole lot inside the base. Yep, nothing at all. All we got's our switch, input from our batteries, and pretty much everything. All the lighting must be done up on the LED chips. So really all I'm going to do is just solder my wires to these two right here, punch a hole in the side, hit it with some hot glue, and then put this thing back on. Pretty easy task. Can't quite get this thing started. Okay, I've plugged in a couple extra leads to my power supply here, and even though it's at 3.7 volts, that ought to be enough to make this lantern work. Let's plug this in and see what we get. Perfect. Exactly what I was hoping for. That's a pretty neat little effect. Still be able to turn it on and off here. Oh, it looks like every time it cycles between the flame and the just a standard light. Not really sure what I'll do about that, but at least for now, we've got our power run to it. I'm going to do the same thing on the other LED lamp, and then those two will be done, and then I can switch my focus to the solar panel. Okay, I got both of these lamps wired up here, and I am a little curious, how many amps are these things going to draw? A pretty easy way to measure that here. I've got them both hooked up to my power supply. Has this nice handy ammeter right here. Right now we're still charging the battery at 1.68 amps. So 1.68 amps is what the battery's taking. Let's turn these lamps on and see what we got. So about 0.1 amps. That's not a whole lot. That's actually really good news. So looks like these lamps are pulling about an additional 0.1 amps at the battery's voltage at the 3.7 volts. So yeah, it's not going to tax that battery at all. That little solar panel system ought to have no problem keeping these things lit all night long. We'll do the same test once we get the LED light tape wired up. And we're not going to be using the whole run of tape, just some of it. So, but I'd still like to know exactly how much current this thing draws at 12 amps with the buck boost converter. So that's coming up next. We're going to get these things installed in this case right here, and then we'll measure how much power it's taking. Well, I've got the solar panel basically just turned face down, so the circuitry is applying battery voltage to these two buck boost converters. I'm going to turn one of these up to 4.5 volts for the lanterns and the other up to 12 for the LED light strips. So I'll turn this one up to 4.5. There we go. Let's hook the multimeter up to the other one and see if we can get 12 out of it. All right, there's 12 out of one and 4.5 out of the other. I'm going to go ahead and solder up the two outputs on these and kind of hot glue them into place in my project box. And then we'll hook everything up and see what we get. Okay, well I got these two buck boost converters wired up here. Got my inputs tied together here, and my two separate outputs here coming out of the box there. Got the 12-volt one tied into the LED light tape, and I got just one of the lanterns plugged in for now. I'm just going to have to make up a Y cable to run to the other one. Easy enough to do after I got it installed. So, yeah, let's test this thing out, see what we got. But basically all I have to do is make it dark where the solar panel is, and these things should come right on. So here goes. Hey, perfect. Lift it back up, they turn off. All right, just as designed. Now it looks like the lantern toggles between flame and lantern mode each time the power is cycled. Not really sure if I can do anything about that. Maybe I'll take a look at it and see if it's possible. I also see the light tape's a little bit dim. I guess I probably should have adjusted the potentiometer on those with it under load, but that's all right. I can go ahead and make some adjustments to brighten that up. And honestly, you know, I'm not looking for super bright anyway. I'm just looking for kind of an ambient backlight, so might be all right the way it is. All right, I'm gonna heat up the glue gun, fix these things into place down in my box with some hot glue, and pop the lid on, and the design part of this project will be done. I can go ahead and install these things inside the sign. What I'm doing here is welding on some 3-inch aluminum flanges, and I'm just stitching them on. So I'm just doing basically some tack welds along here with the TIG welder. And this separates the front plate and the back plate by about 3 inches. And I'm not running it all the way to the corner. The reason I'm not is because we've wrapped the corners with some rope, and this gives me the necessary space for the rope being wrapped around the posts right here without interfering with my mounting system. And it also gives me a place to run the wire in for the LED light tape that's going to surround here. So yeah, once I get these on, then I'll weld the back plate to the other side, punch some holes in here, and you'll also notice that I've got them spaced in a little ways, and that way any part of the post that's not quite uniform that might stick into the mounting area, that won't be a problem because the signs are separated by 3 inches, and since it's a round post, that gives me the necessary room to basically fit everything together. So we'll finish TIG welding these things on here and put the back plate on, and we should be ready to mount the sign. I got those spacers welded to the front plate, and now I'm welding this assembly to the back plate. Now you'll notice there's some paint on the back, and that's because my son did that before he realized that I couldn't weld through the paint. So it's no problem. I just sanded off a little bit of it, and he will be able to touch it up through the basically through the openings in the front. So
you think if I just push on it, it'll...
yeah, lift up because you've got room. There it is. Looks like it's twisted clockwise. So what we need to do is basically slide the base over this way. Since it's tending to do that, let me shoot a screw on this side down here. Force right there. All right, go ahead and cover it up. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, that sign project's a wrap. I'm really happy with it. It came out looking pretty good. And hey, the first night when the sun went down, everything came on just as designed. You know, the one thing I'm kind of unsure about, I don't really know how long my electronics are going to last there in my 3D printed boxes and stuff, but only got maybe 10 bucks into the circuitry there and not very much time into the 3D printing. So if water does cause some kind of a failure out there, then I may redesign everything and pot everything in some epoxy. So that's a possible upgrade in the future. And I'm also not sure how long the battery in the solar system is actually going to last powering that light tape and the lanterns. So that's another unknown. I might need to add another solar panel or some more batteries. We'll just see how that shakes out. So I've got a couple projects coming up here, videos that I'm going to release in the next week or two. I've got this butcher block tabletop that we cast in epoxy, did some Lichtenberg burning on with my neon sign transformer. This is going in a coffee table in our house. The cool thing about this one is it's backlit with fiber optics. So I've got around 400 fiber optic cables that all go into the burn traces here, and when you power it up, it looks really cool. Down inside the epoxy, all these lights sparkle across there. So that's one project. And I got this other one too. This is a giant 1/4 inch thick piece of aluminum cut into an American flag. It's going to be a roof rack on a Mercedes Sprinter van. And we've already test fit it. This thing looks really awesome up there. The person that owns the van was already super happy with it, but once we get it bolted into place, it's going to be a spot for him to put his canoes and kayaks and raft and everything up, and also a spot for him to set up his chair and enjoy a high vantage point out over wherever he's camping. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned because I got these other 2 videos coming out in the next couple of weeks.